How can I shut off the reception?
Hello everybody, welcome to Sonic Talk number 273. This is live today on Wednesday the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July. If I had some fireworks to let off and stuff, I would, but I don't. And I daren't because I'm inside and that would be foolhardy and dangerous. Just also a message to you folks. Rich Hilton is with us this week, and we're struggling with his bandwidth. But bizarrely, Rich is actually here in the UK. Let's see if we can get Rich to respond. We might have to do a video only, an audio only with Rich. But let's get him quick because I know he's got limited time and also limited bandwidth. So how are you, Rich? You well?
Very well, thank you.
And so
very much enjoying my time here.
Where are you?
Let's see. What's this place called?
London.
Brentford, Bradford. Where am I?
Brentford, probably. Where's the gig?
The gig is at Kew Gardens, the Royal Botanical Gardens.
Oh, wow. That sounds awesome. That's going to be brilliant.
I'm looking forward to it, yeah.
So you're currently on a tour of England's rainy hotspots, no doubt. You enjoy...
Well, night before last, we were in Ibiza in Spain.
Wow. Were you at a foam party or were you just playing the regular kind of gig?
We were opening a festival show for Sting.
Oh, wow. Yes, I saw you tweet about that. How was that? How is Sting? I haven't spoken to him for ages myself.
It was great fun playing. I didn't see Sting's show. I did see him backstage briefly and wished him a good show.
Oh, excellent. To
which he somewhat grudgingly acknowledged some small degree of politeness.
How very diplomatically put. Sting was stung by Sting.
No, I wouldn't say that. He did say thanks, but he kind of looked back like, who is this wanker? And
well, then, maybe he doesn't do a lot of gigs, does he? Maybe he's nervous. He might be a nervous gigger kind of guy.
I don't think he's nervous.
Bored?
He didn't look nervous to me.
Oh, right, okay. Just bored and didn't want to be there. Maybe he's a prime candidate for one of those people who can just do the holographic gig from his living room and nip back and start watching EastEnders when the gig's over. That's probably what it is.
I don't know about any of that. I mean, I did get to meet his drummer, Vince Colaiuta, who I'm a big fan of. And, it's very nice. It's a very nice venue, very nice site. And we had a great show there.
Excellent.
And I've never been there before, so
it wasn't raining, of course, which is always a plus. And now you're back at Kew Gardens, where I believe it probably is raining.
No, it's sunny out right now.
No way.
Cloudy but sunny.
Well, I suppose they're playing in Wimbledon because I've been trying to watch the Andy Murray match that is currently going on. And who, if anyone's interested, last time I looked, he was 5-3 down to Ferrer in the first set, but was actually looking like he might come back and get a bit more into the match. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, Rich Hilton, thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you. And I know you're going to be whisked off to start gigging or sound checking any second, so I'll move on quickly and introduce the rest, and then we can get on with the topics. How about that? Seems like a reasonable idea.
Good.
Right, well, we'll get you, Gaz Williams, because you are somewhere in North Wales in a conservatory where it's also raining. But we'll welcome aboard, Gaz. Thanks for joining us. I can't hear it, actually. It's fine. But
yeah, it's actually stopped raining for the moment.
Excellent.
But, well, it is quite loud. It is quite loud anyway when it rains, so I might have to. I'm not sure. I might have to vacate if it gets too much. But I'm in a place called Deganwy in North Wales. I'm visiting my parents. So
right, okay. Gaz Williams, of course, our singer, songwriter, producer, bass player. Songsurgeon.co.uk is where you can find him. Also, just back from his triumphant Paris gig, where he was an integral, pivotal part of the legendary rock opera Popea. Still coming down from that, no doubt, because I can't imagine you get many gigs these days where you get to dress glam and be a pop star for a week with all of that kind of stuff, without actually having to tour. Woohoo! Who can say? Anyway,
but it's good to be back. It's good to be back. But,
anyway, even though you have to do your own washing.
Yeah. What was I going to say? The yeah, it's very hot in this conservatory, actually.
Okay. Well, I want to. Anyway, but I wanted to say thank you for joining us, and we'll quickly go on to Dave Spears also. Where are you, Dave? You're there somewhere. Yeah. Dave Spears, GeForce Software. Welcome. There he is. There's your lower third there. Dave Spears, who doesn't have any trouble at all with his white balance. He's just looking as studio. Oh no, you've got brown. You've got brown. You've been on holiday as well, right?
Yep, out to Mallorca, which was very nice, apart from the fact that I forgot my driving licence and Louise had to drive for the first couple of days, so that was a bit stressy. And then I had to get the DVLA to fax my licence to the Avis car hire office so that I could drive a little Audi A1. So that was good. But I'll tell you what I did read, and it seems that Rich has disappeared, but I've already told him about it anyway. I read Nile Rodgers' autobiography, which is absolutely blinding. So I think it's probably the best one I've read for a long time.
Oh really? Oh, I must try that out.
Yeah, very honest, very candid, very amusing, and yeah, good, very good.
Cool. Yes, you are right. We have lost Rich. Just to introduce an element of chance to the show, we tried Rich. He's between sound check and gig where he's playing with Chic in Kew Gardens, so he's actually in the UK, and the internet's so crappy that he can't actually hear what we're saying. So once again, I'm very sorry that Rich couldn't make it, but appreciate him trying it out. So apologies to our listeners who are looking forward to his wise words. But anyway, wise words indeed are probably something that we're going to require, because the first and biggest news really of the week is that Avid have sold M Audio and inMusic Group software group to Numark, Akai, Alesis, etc. In fact, Jack O'Donnell, who owns all of those brands, has now started a new company called inMusic, where he's, to sort of to umbrella them all. So now they've got this kind of giant brand hanger, which includes M Audio and inMusic, which is quite interesting. So there's an enormous amount of change. I mean, that is two of the sort of possibly the biggest players in certainly our sector in terms of kind of mid to high end audio stuff and low end, I guess, as well, have kind of exchanged shares or whatever it is they've done. I don't know how much they paid for that, but it's a fairly big piece of news, isn't it? And I know, do you know how much it was?
$17 million. And yet,
is that all they bought?
Yeah.
Didn't Avid buy M Audio for 174?
$174 million. Plus, then I think about a year later they bought Pinnacle for about 400, and of course Pinnacle's gone as part of it as well. So they've basically taken about $500 million and turned it into $17 million. That's pretty good going. It's that classic old adage, isn't it? How do you make £1 million in the music business? Start with 2. Except these guys are obviously from the latest fancy business school, so they've done it slightly different.
Yeah, start with 10 million and end up with 1. Yeah. Wow, that is. Yeah, that is kind of a bit of a... When you look at... I mean, there are some sort of uninteresting and unfortunate business aspects to this high sort of things. I think perhaps to begin with, maybe we should concentrate on the positive side of things, just to sort of see if we can find any, presumably. I have been speaking to various people about the takeover, and I know that... in terms of the sort of Numark Akai side of things, it's got a lot of interesting ramifications, because inMusic, Peter Kern over at Digital Music has done a couple of Q&As with various people. One of the people was at inMusic, and they were saying that they were kind of really quite excited because there's a lot of interesting stuff coming on stream that they'll be able to kind of incorporate and cross-pollinate and all of that stuff from both M Audio and the new brands that they've got. And the inMusic Group software group are a very smart bunch of people, so there are potentially some positives there. Gaz, how do you see it?
Well, firstly, I just want to say I'm just really sad to hear about Sibelius being killed off, or certainly so closed down in Britain. Which I think is a great shame. It's one of these awful things about capitalism, isn't it? Sort of, just buy, and then just, taking a great company like Sibelius, who've, come up with a great piece of software, and now,
Yeah, I mean, they've been going for a very long time, haven't they?
I know. I've got a very good friend who works for them.
I would like to point out that Sibelius have not been closed down. They're being kept by Avid, but as part of there's a lot of cuts that Avid are making because essentially, I wasn't going to talk about the business side of it, but I think actually the bottom line is, from the numbers that they're saying is they make about $700 million turnover. 90 million of which were contributed to by the kind of more consumer side of things. So it made sense for them. They're making all their money out of the NLE audio, the video editing side of things, and Pro Tools and the kind of live reinforcement, all of that stuff. So the consumer stuff is just is what, about 30% of the company. So they need to kill about 20% to kind of make sense for their numbers for whatever reason. But Sibelius they're closing some Sibelius offices, so there's not going to be that many people left working on it. That's true.
Well, I think from what I read, it was like they're closing down the UK branch of Sibelius, and as far as I was aware, that it was an entirely British piece of software, so I'm not sure quite where that leaves it. But yeah, sad news really, certainly for the employees there. Sure. I thought it was very interesting this because I remember 10 years ago, M-Audio were the biggest musical instrument manufacturer in the world, weren't they? On biggest
they were doing extremely well and had lots of lines and were kind of top. They pretty much kind of took the controller market and they were the controller keyboards and audio interfaces. They were really kind of rocking on that stuff.
They were very, very fast to embrace USB. And I remember I had a audiophile 2496 card a long time ago. It was brilliant for the money. So, I had great respect for M-Audio. And then when they got bought out, I just thought that their mojo went. I don't know, as a company, they didn't really seem to be the same anymore. I'm interested to see what will happen now.
It will be interesting. I mean, I think the thing about Avid is they seem to be more suited to this kind of high-end corporate environment. That's the culture that has prevailed, or once they've taken over these brands, and that maybe doesn't suit some of the I'm being as diplomatic as I can be here, suit some of the kind of more funky musical instrument and kind of creative types. A lot of what they're dealing with are very high budget operations where they're talking the same kind of language as the upper management, so it makes sense for them to focus on that, I guess. But yeah, it is a sad business. I mean, I remember MIDI Man. I've still got a MIDI Man keyboard at home, the Oxygen 8. They were the first small MIDI controllers that you can still get the Oxygen range. But the other thing that's quite interesting is, they don't seem to actually be, though M-Audio has come on board, there don't actually seem to be any people left at M-Audio who make stuff. I mean, there's very few...
They outsource so much.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be a lot of people working at M-Audio. Sorry, I'll come back to you there, Dave. And now, there aren't actually quite so many, a lot of the engineers and people have left over the years since they were acquired because I guess they were surplus or, didn't fit in with their plans. So they've been sort of spread far and wide. I think some of the few left are, I forget the name of the chap who did the Venom. I think he's still an M-Audio employee, and hopefully he'll have a place because he's a very, very smart guy. And, the Venom deserves a little more love, I think, because it's a great sounding synth, and of various other people. So, I mean, on the positive side, I mean, there's got to be something positive out of this, Dave, before we kind of start giving Avid any kind of kicking. I mean, I wouldn't want to have to, in the interests of balance, obviously.
Oh, it's probably all positive. I completely agree with Gaz in that. I mean, don't forget, we had a sort of worldwide distribution deal with that, with M-Audio just at the time that Digi acquired them. So this is going back to 2005. And as part of that deal, there was a huge earn out, massive amount of sales had to be made as part of the acquisition by Digi, in order that Tim Ryan, the MIDI Man founder, M-Audio founder, walked away with his magic sum of money. And it was at that moment, it was shortly after that, in my opinion, they began to flog the workforce to death. The good guys then started to really leave. It was like kind of, on some cases, it was like flies deserting a dying dog, fleas deserting a dying dog. So yeah, I think anything that takes any of that away from, I don't. You all know, and this is a personal opinion. I don't subscribe to any of this kind of Harvard Business School nonsense. It all seems to be a license to extract the most out of a company. So I think anything that extracts it out of those guys has and puts it into the hands of people who understand the music business above and beyond business school.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because Numark, you know, that Jack O'Donnell sort of is enigmatic character who is in some ways there are parallels between him and Uli Berenger because they are these sort of totems that run the company as a personality-led thing with a very strong idea and vision, which I think is probably the way to go, even though, you know, it creates some operational issues because people, you know, wait to hear what the boss thinks about, you know, what colour pens they're going to use today or whatever, that, you know, on that level you still got a very clear leadership. And I think when you start getting into this whole sort of SAP run stuff, it all gets very, very difficult to trace and people just don't know what the hell's going on. And I think
the one thing I really love about the music industry is that it's almost the kind of last place where you can get these sort of maverick type people, these kind of figurehead people who are, you know, can be a little bit dictatorial, but are actually, you know, largely respected amongst employees and stuff. And sometimes when you get people like that who kind of vanish, or once companies are bought out and then acquired for huge sums of money. I mean, have you seen the bonuses on the whole
that was there are some issues that they've just come up.
Dave Robinson put an interesting thing up on Facebook saying, so, you know, 360 people laid off, and yet the what was it, 13 million in executive compensation.
It does seem like it's a bit out of step with the public the public spirit on such matters. I mean, certainly in the UK, I don't know what's happening in the US about bonuses for fat cat bosses and all that sort of stuff. I mean, whether that's true, it's still it leaves a bad taste, and it is like you say, Gaz. It's can be seen as the unacceptable face of capitalism, and in a business of art like ours, where it's about creativity and personality, it just doesn't really. It's not in step, or it feels like it's not. I mean, I'm sure. You know, you could look at it from the other point where if you are a strict business person, you come in and it's like some bloke with a great personality and a few ideas who's got lucky with a product but has no idea how to run a business. You'd be thinking, oh my God, what a nightmare. It's one of those kind of bits. You see what I mean? They're just two diametrically opposed points of view, I think, as far as I can tell.
It's funny. I've seen it with a couple of companies in that, you know, we are in tight times, and I think once those kind of times take hold, there is this culture of no one wanting to put their head above the parapet for fear of it being wrong. And then obviously bosses demand that you do exactly what they say without any question. So if something's wrong intrinsically, then it just snowballs out of control.
You've just got a load of people all going, I don't agree with it. Well, from our point of view, that thing does happen, you know, because we're dealing with people and we pitch an idea, you know, or advertising, and we can't get any answers because nobody is prepared to say, yeah, that's great, let's do it, you know, unless it is the boss or unless they're very close to it, already have pre-approved. And that's frustrating, you know, that you don't get that kind of stuff. And that's one thing I love about working in small teams, you know, because we could just go, yeah, let's do it. Or, you know, and it at least has, you know, some sort of point to it. But yeah, it's very difficult. It's all these times are always going to be painful. I mean, there's a lot of stuff moving around at the moment. Today there was news of another music retailer going down in the UK. So I mean, you know, the summer is always when this is going to happen, because traditionally that's not when people spend lots of money, because at least if they're not in the UK, outside in the sun having fun.
Who was that? Which retailer was that then, Nick?
Hard to find.
Right. Okay. Can I just say the thing I'm curious now about with inMusic? Now they've got Numark and Akai, and there's quite a kind of clear difference between those two. There's an overlap, but you know, the Numark is definitely all aimed at DJ and the like, whereas Akai tends to be more about the music. Although you know, with the MPC, there's a little crossover there, but now. It seems like the way that Akai have moved into sort of like controllers and the like is very much into a very similar area. Oh, and on the audio interfaces, of course, almost into an identical area of operation as M Audio. So I'm curious as to sort of whether M Audio will, you know, what will be the sort of brand identity of those different companies, you know, because it seems to me that Akai just seem to be really, increasing their product range quite dramatically and into guitar pedals. And well, I know they've done guitar pedals for a
Yeah,
while,
well, no, I agree. I mean, on the outside, you would think that doesn't make sense, and there's going to be some casualties in product lines. I mean, there's bound to be, because there are going to be some things, isn't it? I mean, there's kind of, but according to inMusic, they're not really concerned about the overlap. You know, the products, they'll be able to create more distinct lines and price points. You know, and be able to kind of make things there. I mean, one of the things that I was talking to somebody a couple of days ago about was, you know, where Avid failed to capitalize on M audio, the Numark or the inMusic will be able to, because they've got a much better handle on distribution, and also the ability to to make these things more cost effectively, so drive a much harder bargain at the manufacturing end. So ultimately the prices are probably going to move around quite a bit in these ranges, because certainly in the M audio side of things, I don't know about Air Music because that's software's a kind of fixed cost, but the in terms of manufacture, they'll be able to drive the bottom line down, and kind of, so therefore M audio stuff might actually come down a bit in price, because it was starting to get more and more expensive. Because I don't know if you remember, it used to be really quite, not cheap in a bad sense, but cheap as in low cost, and now it's been creeping up and up. So, you know, maybe that's going to be a really good thing.
Yeah, no, I've no doubt.
For end users.
It can't be worse than where it is. In fact, can I just say, to conclude, my opinion, I don't think the Avid executives, and this is my own personal opinion, I don't think the Avid executives have found the right vehicle for their talents. And perhaps I could suggest a hearse.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there are a lot. I mean, I only have, because we deal with people at Avid, and we've got long-term contacts there. One of my oldest, acquaintances in Bath is there, and I hope they're all safe. And kind of the fact that this consolidation has happened means that it's better and everything's clearer, because it has been a little bit murky to figure out who does what and what's happening. So I hope there are good things going on, and that would be brilliant, because then everybody knows where they are. But and I'm hoping that, even though they're making these lots of cost cuts, that a lot of those people are absorbed into the inMusic company, rather than just being kicked out on the street, because it's a lot more brutal, certainly in the US, in terms of employment. You can just fire people, and that's that, really. Apart from executives, who you have to pay an enormous amount of money. So if you want to sack them. Go figure. That works over here too. I don't really understand how that how that works. But anyway, I mean, suffice to say, there's a lot of there's going to be a lot of changes happening, and I really hope that inMusic can make the most of it, and not end up being seen as a bad guy for having to kind of rationalise what a mess it appears Avid have made of those two things. Right. I think I might do an ad now, because that would be good, because it's about 4:30 and about halfway through the show. So we just want to say thank you very much to our sponsors, who are Yamaha. Yamaha would like to tell you about the O1V96i. This is the compact digital mixer, which I have actually just recently reviewed and was very impressed. I mean, as you know, I do enjoy the Yamaha digital console range. They've got such a long legacy of making these things. They sort of know how to do it right, as far as I'm concerned. And in this particular model, you get 16 in, 16 out USB 2 recording interface at 24-bit 96K across 16 streams. I'm not kidding. And what's really cool about that is you can patch those 16 IOs as insert points, effects sends, bus inserts, all sorts of things, as well as just a straight in and out of your computer. Refined studio quality head amps, which I thought sounded really good as well on the ribbon mic that we use here. Just very low noise and a good full range of frequency. Full suite of VCM effects, master strip, channel strip, vintage stomp effects, RevX, reverb, EQs, compressors, that kind of thing, which you can run as inserts as well as effects sends. 40 mixing channels, 32 mono, 4 stereo, 16 analog and 8 digital outs. ADAT as standard, so you get 8 ADAT IO as standard, and you still have a YGDAI slot available for any of the other IO options. 8 auxes, 8 buses, 4 effects simultaneously, monochannel, each channel, in fact, or monochannel provides 4-band EQ, compressor and gate. It comes with Cubase AI, advanced DAW support, so you've got a MIDI control layer as well, and you can cascade a couple of them together if 40 channels isn't enough, so you can have a super uber mixing console. Anyway, we do like you to check them out. If you go to a Pulse store in the UK, that's a store within a store that has a Yamaha store in it. You can check one out and maybe take a thumb drive along, record some audio, see what it sounds like. I think you'll find that it really does live up to expectations. I certainly would love to have held on to this one, but sadly we don't have the money, and we've already got a DM1000. But that's another matter. And so, if you're in the US, try one of the larger dealers. If you want to find out more, we've got a Bitly URL, which if you're watching the video version of the show, we'll be displaying now. But otherwise, it's bit.ly/01V96i. That's bit.ly/01V96i. Once again, we thank Yamaha for their continued sponsorship of the show. Right. So what is next? Let's see. I have... yes, the Android thing. This is kind of interesting. In fact, I might start with this video because this kind of will show what's going on. It's a kind of... I'm rolling two topics into one. So here it comes. Oh, no, that's not it. That's not it either. I keep forgetting that I've actually got it on a web page. Let's try that again. Cut! I tell you what it is. I've moved the screen. I usually have a screen over here and the camera's pointing at me over here and the mouse is here, and I've moved it all up here so I don't have to move that monitor into this position. So everything's a little bit out of whack for me, so I'm sorry about that. But let's try it again. This is something that Engadget shot at the recent Google I/O conference.
Hi, it's Miriam with Engadget. I'm here with Jeff of Miselu, who's going to show us the official Polysix Korg app for the Miselu.
All right, so we have Korg's porting of the Polysix, which is their famous 80s synthesizer. They've done a...
This is running on Android, by the way. This is Miselu runs an Android OS engine. It looks like a fairly interesting and cool kind of combined musical. It's like the Yamaha CX5, but kind of more advanced, and obviously 20 years later on.
4 banks of 8 sounds, and
see if I can find it making some noise. Oh yeah, here we go.
Sure.
So we've got a lead sound that's using the unison parameters,
and touch screen as well, so you access all those controls, which is kind of a cool idea.
On this one key. Change the spread.
But anyway, I mean, aside from the neatness of the Miselu Niero, which is, we've covered it before. We looked at it once before, and it looked all just like vaporware. But now it's sort of featuring quite heavily. Certainly in the Google I/O, there were a number of apps running, and this app here is actually an officially made Korg app, which kind of makes the light bulbs go off for me, because remember, Korg were first on the Nintendo DS platform. They were first to have a decent musical instrument kind of app on iOS, or at least one of the bigger manufacturers to jump. So does this herald a kind of a wider and more interesting kind of move towards Android as a potential platform for this kind of thing? Dave Spears, you're looking away as if it means nothing to you. Are you ready to start developing for a new platform?
No.
Why ever not? Surely it's a massive, there's massive potential.
Let's do loads. Every platform on the entire planet we're going to develop. No, I don't know. I couldn't get excited about any of this. I did look at it as much as I could bear to, and it was just sort of something that I don't know. It was all a bit sort of slick and I don't know, smug. I don't know. It wasn't smug. Oh, Gaz, you have a go.
Come on, because me and Gaz, as you probably may be aware, do the Sonic Touch show, which is focused on, well, we call it music for touch devices, hoping that maybe something else will come along and sort of to compete with the iOS platform, which is a brilliant platform for, designed well for this applications. And Android up to now just hasn't really been able to cut it. But there are some new Jellybean 4.1, I believe it is, isn't it?
Yeah, you see, even just that name kind of just made me kind of, I don't know, just almost put me to sleep immediately. Oh, Jellybean. Oh.
Well, what? Yeah. So what? So tell me, does Snow Leopard kind of get you kind of
no,
go feeling?
It doesn't.
I'm ready to go. And Lion. I feel ready to code. Grr.
No, there's this kind of theory, isn't there, that people from particular countries like names as opposed to product numbers and things like this, largely because they're not that smart.
Right.
I just don't know. All of it just kind of drives me a bit nuts. What are we talking about? Are we talking about jelly beans, or are we talking about a tuna sandwich or something? I have no idea.
Muffin, I think would be the next one.
Yes.
Come on, Gaz. Let's try and
Gaz,
let's wrestle some optimism from this from all this.
Well, I mean, I thought it was interesting in as much as that it would be great for the Android devices to become useful as musical devices, because they just have not been able to do the latency low enough, and I think there's a few other reasons as well. I mean, Apple have always had that kind of thing with the core audio, core MIDI, etc. So for developers then to be able to actually make meaningful musical devices, I think is good and exciting in that. People often say to me, I'm like some sort of Apple acolyte, and I really don't. They really annoy me, Apple do, in many, many ways. I think they kind of are really corporate kind of. It's our way or the highway with Apple.
Yeah.
And,
what about all this news that there's going to be a different kind of connector on the iPhone 5?
I said this, didn't I? I said years ago we should have set up an April Fool on this.
Yeah.
We missed our chance, and now it's reality.
Not yet, but yes, we'll have to see how that is. But yeah, no, I agree. But I'm really excited, because I think if they get this new. And one thing that springs to mind for me, actually what I was doing was I was showing these new Jellybean 4.1 has USB audio record triggering, multi-channel audio and audio processing, audio chaining, media router, just stuff that kind of, we've been getting with the iOS for a long time. But the fact that it's now coming to this, and also there's this dedicated hardware device that, let's face it, companies like Korg don't just devote, a coding team to port something for a laugh. I mean, what I'm wondering whether perhaps they've got some sort of vested interest in this Niero system, and they're basically going to buy it out or co-venture or something, so that it's going to come out and they'll be able to help make it mass produced and stuff. Because it seems like there's an awful lot of support behind it, and you wouldn't expect that from a couple of dudes in a garage, would you? Really?
But didn't you include that sentence in your link? Polysix for Niero was developed by Korg to offer an example of what's possible on Miselu Niero. There are no plans to make it commercially available at this time.
Yes, but that doesn't add up. That just doesn't make sense. Yes, they're saying that. That's just to stop people going, where can I buy it? Where can I buy it? Where can I buy it?
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't it really? It's marketing sort of.
No, I mean, I know I like to have a bit of a rant now and again, and I do hope that it all works out. But what happens with us is that we are constantly bombarded with people going, oh, support this platform, do this for this platform, support us. We've got this kind of piece of thing over here that's going to be absolutely amazing, and it's going to change and revolutionize the world. Please come and do that. And actually, very few of them make it further than a podcast.
Yeah, well, true. We've seen them come and go, but this one seems to have staying power. That's what's interesting to me, and I don't know what version of Android it's running or any of that kind of stuff, but there are a couple of other musical applications later on in that video on the Engadget site that are showing other stuff, the touchy-feely thing. I mean, a couple of people have said in the chat room actually that what's with all the virtual knobs on a touchscreen? I mean, it's just stupid, and I agree, but you have to put something there that represents the instrument that you're emulating, I guess, in this instance. So, Gaz, let's have another go at that. I mean, do you think that? What do you think about that theory that perhaps this might be a precursor to something big happening with Korg being involved in the Miselu? No.
Well, yeah, it's difficult really to guess, but because I mean the Miselu, I keep saying Miselu like the Dick Dale song, but is that's had a lot of investment though from Silicon Valley startup, hasn't it? There's a lot of money being put into it, so I wonder whether actually Korg have been paid to develop for it. Just as there is this big investment into it, just possibly. But the point I was going to say a moment back, just why I was quite interested about the Android side of things getting better and becoming more musically functional, is that I really think that I love the open playing field for that people can develop great ideas very quickly. So and it's like a level playing field. Anyone anywhere in the world can then sort of create something and it become a commercially viable musical device. Now this is quite the opposite with the can you say it for me again?
Miselu Niero.
Niero. as I say, that's had a
I suppose
lot of.
It's closed, isn't it? Because it's tied to hardware. But
Yeah. So I think that's, so I can kind of see two things going on there, really. On one hand, I'm excited about things becoming more open so developers can create, and that's why I'm interested. I feel like I needed to justify that a little bit.
Okay.
Why I've been interested in doing things like Sonic Touch is because I love that open creativity.
Well, say open creativity, it's still got to go through the Apple mangle, hasn't it? And if they don't like it, then that's tough. All that money and you've spent and time you've put in is sort of up down the spout.
They don't sort of.
No,
they don't let something go through if they don't like it. They just check in to make sure that it's not got malware or
I suppose. All right,
it's not like an A&R.
I retract that statement.
Yeah. So sorry, I know I feel it's like two threads going on here at the moment, but so on one hand, I think it's very exciting if the development. I mean, I don't know what the development tools are like for Android.
Yeah, I don't think they're as nice as the Xcode and the iOS thing. I mean, I think that's something that's... But, I mean, presumably Google are trying to encourage people to... by making these improvements, they're encouraging people to have a go, which I think is probably not a bad thing. So then maybe there will be some change in the development system or whatever. And I don't know anything about, if you develop on one... you have to completely rewrite it for the other, or whether there's any kind of cross-pollination or not. I couldn't possibly say.
So,
I mean, I'd hope so.
Is there an equivalent to like kind of core audio and core MIDI with Android then? I mean, is there like a kind of big like database of pre-existing kind of code that they can just drag in? I'm assuming that there is. But
that's a good question that I can't possibly answer, but maybe someone in the chat room will know. But I couldn't say. I mean, I think what I'm interested in is the fact that there's this piece of hardware that is able to allow us to kind of aim for something. If Korg, like I say, once again, if Korg have developed for it, and there are a couple of other ones, there must be some reason for it. It's not just an incentive to have their stuff on a video on a Google I/O thing on Engadget. There must be an end game in sight, and that's what interests me. And I think, the time is kind of ripe really for a little bit of competition here. And if Google can provide the platform for that, all the better, because they're a larger company and they're not likely to be sort of going the way of I don't know, some of these other sort of fly-by-night companies, So hopefully that will be a good sign. It's just I was kind of struck by the way that, like I say, it's not usual for companies like Korg to jump in and start doing stuff without a little bit more coming, So maybe there will be. I don't know did anyone know what the end price is supposed to be for the Miselu? What their target price is? I mean, it looks like a lap. I mean, at the moment it looks a bit like a laptop with a CX5 keyboard stuck on it. But let's see if I might be able to find that again. I've closed that tab, but there we go. There's some pictures of it here. I don't know whether or not that's the final hardware or whether it's going to be, but look, I mean, it could be kind of funky. Obviously, that doesn't work because if you close the screen on that, there's a gap. Anyway, need some knobs on. But it looks like a cool idea, and I would like to see it because I would like to actually there to be an alternative. Because that'll lead to innovation. All right? Is that okay, Dave?
Yeah. I guess a thumbs up from me.
Right. And, well, this next one is along the same lines, really, because it's, again, a new piece of software that is nearing, final beta. So, here we go. This, of course, is one of the first demos they put of the Bitwig application, which has more than a passing resemblance to Ableton Live, but it has some very cool other features as well. And if you get a chance to watch the video in full res, I would heartily recommend it, because basically what you get is a kind of a combination of the linear mode of something like Logic or Sonar X1, but alongside the sort of clip paradigm of Ableton. And obviously there are developers involved in this project that were involved in Live, and I'm not sure whether just putting the file browser and stuff on the right hand side is going to be quite enough to stop them from getting some legal notices from said company, but we shall see. I'll just play a little bit more of this. I quite like the sound of this synth in here as well, I must say, which is fortunate because there's a lot of it. these kind of interface changes and the ability to make these enormous metering and that side of stuff. I don't know if he's going to go to that now. I forget the exact order of events. But it follows very much along from the kind of always playing, always happening kind of paradigm of live. I know, and the thing that really excites me about this is the fact that there's a little penguin just here, which is going to signify that it's going to be available for Linux, which I think could be a really massive game changer. If you consider how expensive audio workstations are, you know, as Windows dick about with Windows 8 and kind of, you know, messing with the real-time performance aspects of that in favour of kind of word processing and all that other rubbish, there may need to be an alternative platform to Apple, because for many, the Apple platform is too expensive, whereas if you take a Linux base, you can run this on all sorts of base level platforms, and you get massive performance out of it, as we've seen before. But if they can formalize it a little more and put a tool of this quality on it, then, you know, we could be getting somewhere pretty exciting. Dave Spears, have you met the Bitwig guys? I met them at NAMM, and I've been trying to get. I'm trying to get them to do an interview for next week, a bit like the Ohm Studio guys did, and so I'm hoping we might be able to have a chat with them, because I'm really quite interested in this. It seems to combine, you know, bits of the two schools of DAW usage into one thing. Do you think they're going to get away with it?
Do I think? Yeah.
Do you know anything? I mean, do you know anything more about it? I mean, do you know anything about the coders involved or any of those guys? Because they're obviously smart cookies.
No, I was hoping you were going to tell me more about that.
Well, I do know that there are a few people from Ableton involved, which has been the sort of tagline. They've been very secretive about their PR, because I met them at NAMM and they said, "Oh yeah, we'd love to talk to you," and then I got sort of fended off to the PR person, who was like, "No, we're not. You know, we're just holding off. They're waiting until they've got something more concrete, and obviously they just want to get it right." And looking at this, it's kind of, you know, it's moving in that direction. I mean, that looks pretty impressive. I mean, it's very, very Ableton. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
You just cannot get away from that, right?
Yeah. Impressive demo tune as well, actually.
Yeah, no, really. I don't think, but I'm totally dry and really tight. I just love the snappiness of it. Really love. Yeah, I like that.
I kind of put it on while I was working, and after I was like, hang on, what's this? Nice
bit of that bass drum is killer, isn't it? A nice bit of bouncy sort of house type stuff.
Yeah, 707. Rim shot it was. Yeah, no, interesting. I was a bit confused by the Penguin. I thought it might be a new Apple operating system. Oh,
what else could it be? Yes, where are we? Snow leopard, snow penguin, lion penguin, king penguin.
Fornicating penguin. Did you see that on the BBC? It was brilliant. There was a guy, I think it was Darwin, even said, you know, these penguins are just terrible, and so much so they were completely devious when it came to fornicating, that I think he wrote it in Greek or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he was so ashamed. He was so appalled.
Devious penguins. There's a tagline. I think I'm going to make a note of that. Devious fornicating penguin. Maybe not fornicating. That might not pass the devious penguins. Okay. But I mean, this is one that I'm Gaz. I mean, because, you know, we're big fans of Reaper, which is a kind of open source thing. But again, I think they really missed a trick by not concentrating on the Linux platform. I mean, I don't know if there may be a reason for this, but I think Linux is the kind of key really to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is one of the big sort of headline things of Bitwig, especially as you mentioned earlier. You know, people could be building specific
OS builds. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, especially for it, is making it as unbloaty. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I've talked about this numerous times on previous podcasts, how, you know, every year Ableton Live had a new update, you know, and I think we've frozen now since 2008 on version 8.
Yes, do you think there's talk, isn't there? If Ableton 9 comes out before this does, then they might be stymied.
Yeah, you know, and it is kind of you know, a lot of people are wondering, well, what is Ableton 9 going to bring to the party? You know, because and now Bitwig is kind of pipping them to the post with this new version. But for me, one of the things I've always really enjoyed about Ableton Live is its simple, very, very simple kind of graphical display and a very minimalist design. And obviously Bitwig is kind of copying well,
aspects of that.
So I mean, it's so similar in so many ways. In so many ways, it looks, but it is actually quite a lot busier than Ableton Live in the sort of display. And I wonder whether that will kind of.
Well, the thing that's always frustrated me about Ableton Live is the fact that I'm a linear DAW guy. You know, that's where I've learnt all my chops. And looking at the Ableton interface, I instinctively I just cannot get my head around it because I'm so ingrained in this sort of like timeline view, and that's where. And I know you can do that in Ableton Live, but it's the integration is just not obvious enough for me to be able to kind of get my head around it. I know Ableton Live is absolutely brilliant for many things, and I really like the clip launching thing, but I can't get my head around not working on the timeline.
Mind you, I often work with the timeline on Ableton Live because I love, again, the simplicity of it. You know, it's a bit frustrating for some things, but you know, if you work in your traditional kind of timeline view, you know, Ableton Live's great. You know, it's very quick. You can make automations and various things. You know, it's a lot less fiddly than say something like Cubase. But you know, but I know that a lot of people are kind of going, "Oh, Bitwig looks great. It's got all these extra bits and bobs."
I mean, do you think actually what Bitwig is kind of this is what 9 should be?
Well, I was wondering that at first, but now I'm kind of thinking it's what a lot of people have been looking for, which is that kind of combination of FL Studio and Ableton Live. There was some poll recently, I think maybe it was on Tech Radar or something like that, of the most popular DAWs right now, and FL Studio was number 1. And now
I think that was on Synthtopia, wasn't it? He did
maybe Synthtopia, and you know, and I think previously Ableton Live had been holding that number 1 spot for a long time or something, and people attributed the popularity of dubstep as to why that may be the case. So I was kind of thinking, a lot of FL Studio users are going to be looking at Bitwig thinking this is good, but so I mean, it's definitely.
I can see that there is a the whole kind of dark grey kind of vibe is definitely appealing to that.
I think that's what I was kind of seeing really, but also, you know, all the controls, it's displaying like lots of little controls and stuff on there as well, which brought to mind FL Studio.
Per note automation, clip automation, simultaneous. One thing I did see, I wrote a couple of things down that I saw. There were some really nice aspects to it that I saw. The Bitwig demo, there was like the merging of timeline and clip launch concept, the metering, the layering of MIDI edits was quite cool as well. I like the fact that you're in MIDI edit and then you can switch on other tracks to join it. So if, say for instance, if you're the sort of person that likes to have kick, snare, hat, and you know things on separate tracks where you can switch them on and bring them all together easily, whereas in other ones it's not quite as. I'm sure other things do that, but it's not quite as obvious perhaps as they've made it here, which is just kind of quite cool.
So I mean, but you know, I think it's interesting. I mean, I remember when PreSonus brought out Studio One, and people were going, "Do we really need another one?" And but that seems to have done reasonably well.
Yeah, I mean, there is a need. I mean, PreSonus are flying. You know, they've sort of almost been the Dorian Gray to Avid. In a lot of ways, you know, there's that relationship. They've grown as Avid has kind of shrunken or failed in the consumer, you know, side of things. So yeah, that's quite interesting. I just think that the Linux thing is going to really blow the roof off it all. And you know, who knows? I mean, what happens if at Live 9, part of what they do, they port it to Linux? That would be pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. I don't know if that's likely to be the case. That would be a nightmare to try and support another platform, I guess, wouldn't it?
Yeah, this looked quite simple, didn't it?
Sorry?
This looked relatively simple. I think that was some of the appeal, because Fruity Loops on the surface is quite simple. But the problem always seems to come is that when you get users kind of going, "Oh, I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this," and then all of a sudden, you know, after several iterations, things just become really bloated. And I think people want to go back to simplicity to a certain degree.
Well, there are some more things scheduled to come online. It says coming up in version. Oh, and I've got to pull this down here. That coming up after the 1.0 release, we've got. I have to. Don't know if I can do that. I have to. My window's a little bit. There's where's that then? Coming up. No, I don't seem to be able to.
Down the bottom, I saw it.
Yeah, I can't seem to scroll that into my my screen capture window. Features coming up are there's a sort of modular environment, there's multi-user session jamming, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be interesting what they add, but all these kind of additional things are going to bloat it up, no doubt. But like I say, the thing that's really thrilling me is the idea that it's going to be on Linux, and I think that's going to, because you can take your crappy old laptop or the one that you think is no longer powerful enough to run the enormous bloatware that you currently use, and you'd probably be able to run this on that because you just strip out because of the nature of the system. I'm trying to remember. There's the guys. I should mention them, but they do sort of Linux in a box for audio, and they sell that on netbooks and what have you, and they're great guys. I forget the name of the company, it's terrible. I should try and look them up, but they've been doing that for a while, so there might be a tie-in with this where they can provide machines that are just custom built for Bitwig, and you're good to go, because that's the thing that's missing. It's still kind of clunky. It's not the same interface that you would expect from the more advanced GUI OSs like Windows and the Mac OS as well. But yeah, the demo is approaching. The beta is approaching. You can sign up. I think they're running out of slots there, but I'm guessing that must mean this year hopefully we'll be getting there. So yeah, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Let's hear it. Introducing Bitwig Studio. Yes, and hopefully, like I say, we'll be able to get somebody from Bitwig on to chat to us about it and kind of give us a little bit more insight, because it's hard to see from that video the really cool stuff, because I'm too busy nodding to the tunes, which is very shallow of me, of course. Right, what was next? Oh, I think we've got one last topic, which is from Kiwi Steve, who I can't see in the chat room. I don't know what time it is, but Kiwi Steve is one of our more long-time listeners. We met at NAMM. Lovely chap. His son makes amazing guitars as well, and he sent this live modular performance of a 1200 HP modular, which you just have to check this out. It's insane. This is by a chap called Gregg Wilson, who's got a very minimalist approach to interior design. It looks like a work of art he's got installed there. It's, in fact, if you notice, the colours of behind it are oscillating as well, which is really cool. And this is a live performance he's made using this massive, I don't know, it must be worth 20-30 grand, that, just in terms of real-time price, using various modules and various simultaneous parts. He's then recorded the audio separately, but in real time as the performance, and then mixed it in post later. But so this is all kind of happening now as the video is being recorded, or at least that's what we're told. And there's just some great stuff in here. There's just tons of feedback loops. He's got this really just... Oh, I'm going to keep fast forwarding it. There's a great breakdown later on. What sounds like a sort of plucked guitar. I don't know how that's working. Great. But surely there is living proof that it is possible to finish something on a modular synthesizer, even though it is actually only of the moment. Gaz, that give you any more desire for modular stuff?
I did like it. Thought it was really cool. So possibly, nice video as well. Just quite inspiring to watch, really. Yeah, great. But it is nice to see something like that, though, which is just musical as opposed to
just noodling, just an arpeggio. Yeah, exactly. And obviously he's got such a lot of capabilities there for doing stuff. I don't know exactly what was going on there, but I enjoyed that. And I must admit, I kind of got back into doing some modular stuff when I was just reviewing the Arturia Mini Brute, which I would normally have here and be playing with, but it had to go straight back before I went on holiday, unfortunately. And just the ability to be able to put that in front of the Monorocket case and patch it up, and then there it all is, coming all together into one system with a keyboard. Bloody genius, I have to say. I really, I think they're going to have, if they can get enough of them made, and they keep the quality control up, because that's always the problem when you mass produce something analog like that, then they're going to have a big hit on their hands with that. But yeah, modular stuff is, it made me think, I must get some more stuff in for review. Really, really enjoyed that. Dave Spears, got room for one of those in your room?
I think we can make room, can't we? I reckon on the ceiling. That's what I was thinking, especially with that kind of pulsing light behind it. I could put it on the ceiling and I could stand up and go like this quite a lot.
Yeah, there's room.
Brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. Great video. Like you say, musical instead of noodling. But I love watching somebody like Bob Williams at NAMM and stuff. That's like performance art to me. This big burly bodybuilder making these really delicate little adjustments. There's something really graceful about it.
Yeah, and I wonder how long it took to set up, because I mean the composition of that thing. I mean, a lot of it was done. It seemed to me. I mean, I couldn't tell exactly, with just fading things in and out of mixer modules, which is mixer modules are the way to go. Certainly, when I was doing the Arturo review, I was mixing CVs to be able to kind of do the envelope or this or that, or taking an LFO to modulate something or an envelope or whatever, and that I just love all of that. It's great, and I think that's the key. Unfortunately, they are amongst the cheapest of modules to purchase for your modular system. So is
that like a Eurorack system?
Yeah, it's a 1200 HP Eurorack system. So I don't know. It looks like what? It's about, I don't know. I have to play it again. It looks like it's about 8 feet wide.
Chris, can I have a Eurorack system?
But there's some lovely stuff in there. I mean, each of those modules, we're talking about 200-300 euros each, really. I mean, apart from the mixer modules, as I've said. But yeah, great, absolutely great,
brilliant.
And modular is definitely. I want to do some more modular stuff, because that's just inspired me to do it. Although I haven't got enough of it to be able to pull off something like that. I obviously need more. And obviously my lack of doing reviews has resulted in lack of people offering to send stuff to be able to be review. And it's always been a bit of a problem, actually, getting... because these are very small boutique manufacturers in a lot of cases, so it's quite hard to kind of get them to send stuff out, because they just don't have the stock or the products. So yeah, I'm going to... Oh, Puckatronic says in the chat room, some of the modules he saw in there are £500 to £600 each. Yeah, some of the complex stuff, the tip-top pressure sensitive and the ZDSP are going to be a lot more expensive, but works kind of, yeah. I do like that stuff. Did you get a chance to check out the Arturia, Dave? I know you're not a massive fan of the company, but I have to say they've done a great job on this. Actually, great job on this.
Yeah, no, I think it's the best thing they've ever done. Frankly, it's the only thing they've done that interests me. Boom, boom, tish.
No, I'm totally with you. I mean, their software is, while it's served a purpose, it's never kind of lit my, set any light bulbs off. Whereas this just really kind of, it's very cleverly designed, and that I think Ivuson, who's the main sort of electronics boffin behind it, has just anything where he's gone, oh, we haven't got enough money to make that. He's come up with an alternative. And that's what's so brilliant, I think, about it. It'll do stuff if you think about it, but it won't do it with its own dedicated knob. So it's some nice functions there.
Yeah, it'll sell tons. I think it's one of those products. Right product, right place, right time, right price.
Yeah,
just everything.
Totally.
Does
Chris has come back with an answer going, no, do some work.
Well, Dave, I have actually got a spare modular case here. If you would like to just try out some.
I want the synthesizers.com, the 88 one. The big 88. In fact, he's just sent it through saying you can have one of these, but I think he means a module from it. And in fact, it's too big. The Moog replica thing,
no, I haven't seen that.
It's just massive.
Well, Will's got a really big synthesizers.com system.
Penis envy.
Yeah, but he's also got some Moog. What are they? The 55s.
I saw those down at Neil Perry's place. Yeah.
But they're not actually. They're the Moog ones that were made not by Moog. Do you know what I mean? They're the ones that were made by the British, but they still sound bloody great. And that's the difference. I mean, but again, anyway, we could wax on about that sort of stuff. They sound so massively huge. The problem is with the Moog stuff is you can't fit them in anywhere. You're pushing everything out.
Say that again.
They sound so massively huge.
What sounds so massively huge?
Moog. I did it. I said it right, yeah. First time ever. I don't know where it came from, Dave. It's just that I'm feeling synthesizer peer pressure, quite possibly.
Peer pressure and penis envy.
I think it's because you said that word that I had to say Moog. somehow. I don't know.
Yes, like contagious.
Moog Envy.
Brilliant. Moog Envy. There you go.
Same thing.
Well, I'd say definitely Arturia have got Moog Envy.
Yeah. Oh well, there's no doubt. But yeah, no, really good bit of modular action, and I want to see more of that. And I think, and I'm hoping that Arturia will kind of show the way, really, because that will allow. All you need is a little box. You put a couple of modules in it, and you've kind of got integration straight away. Lovely idea.
Be a poly brute. There'll be a blooming.
You think?
Yeah.
How the hell are you going to be able to make a poly brute? Oh no, somebody said they're waiting in the review. There's been some comments saying maxi brute.
Yeah.
I don't know, which would need more oscillators, I think, because that's been one of the criticisms so far. Is like, oh, it's not a proper synth. It hasn't got more than one oscillator, and it's like, yeah, right, exactly. SH09, SH101. Sorry,
RPAX.
Yeah, exactly. Rubbish, isn't it?
That wasn't a proper synth.
So are they available to buy now then? The because I tried to get one. I tried to buy one when I was in France. The
mini
brutes. Yeah.
I think there are a few coming in. It's trickling. I suspect, as is often the case with something that has so many discrete electronics in it, that the quality control on the manufacturer side is the hardest thing to get right. So they're probably, and this isn't something that's peculiar to Arturia. Any manufacturer that is starting to build for mass production has probably got some aspect of it happening in China, and you've got to be really on top of that sort of thing to make sure that the quality of the stuff coming through is, you're not throwing 50% of them away, because that means the people who ordered the stuff are going, hold on a minute, you've seen it all the way down the line. You've seen it with your what's the thing that you're waiting for as well?
Cuneo.
The Cuneo. There's probably they're just problems that have to be solved, and it's always the scaling of manufacture is a real fine art, and it's very hard to get right. And you sort of notice about it because it's like, I don't know if you have the same scenario that I have with my lovely partner. So I've got I could make those, and maybe this shop could sell them. I said, yeah, but how many could you knit in a week? If they said, yeah, we'll take them nationally, can we have 5 million of them a year, please? Then the scaling of it is the problem, and it just that's the way it goes, isn't it? So I wish them every luck, and I think it's going to be a great product for them.
Possibly Cuneo next week.
Oh, really?
Email, yeah. So the week after
I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait to see it. And there's some really interesting stuff happening in the iPad world. Just to put a plug in for the Sonic Touch, we've got Aurea has been submitted for approval process. So that's going to be coming on stream probably in the next 10 days, a week.
Wow.
That's the multi-track audio recorder editor that had with the plug-in architecture.
Plug-in support, yeah.
Is this the one that professes to have some kind of VST support?
That's right, yeah. Who's the company that are making stuff for...
Wavelab Arts.
Wavelab Arts and PSP are making stuff for them. Yeah, they've got...
And Fab Filter as well.
Really? Well, that'll be interesting. Interesting stuff. So interesting times, and there's a lot of things that I would like to check out. There's also the new Failed Muso Akai Synth Station app version 3 is now available too. Want to check that?
Yes, very nice. That is. I've just got that yesterday, and I think that the Synth Station wasn't really particularly an iPad friendly, well, not an iPad device before, but the new version. Just looking for it here is excellent. It's really good. It's
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, stuff to look forward to. We'll try and schedule a new show when our schedules allow. And I don't know if you can see, you've seen our new backdrop, Gaz, have you? Can you hear the fact the room is so much deader? It's amazing. We bought this. We've been looking for ages. This is probably fairly tedious for those of you who aren't into video or anything. But we bought this. You can't really see it there because the lights are all off. Hold on a minute. I'm going to do something quickly. We bought this new backdrop, which we found that you can get in a 3-meter drop that comes in length. So we managed to buy 10 meters of it. Yeah. Let me just go and check it out. I'll switch a light on and you can see.
Quick, hang up while he's off. Come back. Where are you? Oh, we got bored.
Which obviously right now there's a green screen up there because we've been doing some experimenting with green screen. I have to get my white balance right because I've gone red again. So yeah, back there, over that side, all the way around and all the way up there is one piece of cloth finally, and it's quite heavy, so it's much deader. Sorry, I seem to have... There we go, that's better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that out. And we shot a piece of I'm still very red. Shot a piece of video with Laura Scude, who's been on tour with Kanye West. Gaz very kindly did the honours while I was away on the interview front. God,
cool.
Look at my.
She hit me up while she was over here via Tara.
Yeah.
And I never got a chance to hook up. I was really hoping we could.
Look at the colour of my head. That's just amazing. That white balance has got to be sorted out. Come on. It's just it's like.
Instead of the blue man group, it's the red man group.
It's the green behind. It's trying to. That's amazing. I look like I'm actually. I'm a scanner and I'm about to explode.
That's brilliant.
Anyway, that's it for this week. Much enjoyment and thanks everybody. And so interesting times, and we shall see you all very soon. I want to say thank you very much to Gaz Williams, whose video is frozen, but in a kind of you're looking like a kind of thinking and ponderous way, in a good way. But and I can see your conservatory behind you there. So thanks very much, and I'm glad the rain has held off. Gaz Williams, songsurgeon.co.uk.
Okay, thank you very much.
And also we got Dave Spears over there in that neck of the woods at G4 Central.
Thanks for joining us. We were going to try and release something today, but we didn't because we thought we could sneak it through on the 4th of July.
Is this is the rack extensions? Is that all?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. We're so close. It's really exciting.
Brilliant.
So Chris is.
So that 2.5 hours it takes, they say, to port anything over to the propeller head side. You've just been doing it like a couple of minutes a day, presumably.
A couple of minutes a day. God, I wish. Yeah. No, it was submitted to the propeller heads guys today for their approval. So yeah, with a bit of luck, early next week. It's this 3D graphics thing, man. It just it's mental.
Yeah.
Mental. But yeah, no, really exciting. We're kind of, a bit stoked by it, actually.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. I'm going to play us out with a little bit more of, what's his face? Gregg Wilson's brilliant modular piece. So thanks once again.